Hey, guess what? It's time once again for the New York Giants Squad Show. My name is Jay Berman, and welcome to the New York Giants Squad Show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We heard from Joe Shane. We broke it all down here on the Squad Show. We'll do the same for John Harbaugh, who met the media. Combine week continues.
I'm Patricia Traina of Locked On Giants, and there's more than just trade wins floating around in Indianapolis.
I'm Mark Collins, two-time Super Bowl champion. Let's go get the players, please. We're already at the combine. Let's go.
Let's go, Big Blue. It's the New York Giants squad. Everything New York Giants every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the G-Men. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. The Giants Squad Show starts now.
All right, once again, it's the New York Giants Squad Show alongside the All-Stars, Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. As we said, it is Combine Week. We broke it all down with Joe Shane on Tuesday. We'll do the same with John Harbaugh today, who also met the media in Indianapolis, and that's exactly where we'll start. John Harbaugh spoke. We all listened, and he had a very important point to make. Patricia, in the leadoff spot, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, John Harbaugh, so far I have to say, having heard him in person twice now, very impressive speaker, very enthusiastic, he says a lot, but he doesn't really tell you per se what he's thinking or what direction he might go in. John Harbaugh, looking for the best available players, talking about building an identity that is purely New York Giants, not Kansas City, not Baltimore, not Chicago, not Tennessee, but New York Giants. And that's so important because, here we are, we're all trying to figure out, okay, what is the Giants offense going to look like? What is the defense going to look like? And Harbaugh is saying, look, we are going to put together a offense and a defense and a special teams unit that is New York Giants. And you'll probably see little bits and pieces from every place these coaches have been to. Yeah. But ultimately, when you put it all together, it's going to have a much different look. And that's important when you look at who they might be looking at in terms of the draft and in free agency.
And that's what I took from his speech as well. He spoke heavily on the integration of all the coaches he brought together. The integral parts from each organization and meshing it together and making it Giants footballs. And I like that. Spoke like a true CEO, Not too much here, not too much there, delegating responsibility all over, putting a great team together, building as one. I liked it. Spoke very well, no doubt about that. And I just hope he can apply it, which I know he can because he did in Baltimore, to the Giants.
Yeah, you mentioned those three little letters, Mark, and of course it's CEO. We've discussed it at length. We'll continue to discuss it into the future. But again, Patricia, those are three letters that mean the world to John Harbaugh and exactly why he's taking over in that capacity.
Yeah, and you know what? I endorse it, to be honest with you. I mean, sometimes you have one coach that comes in and he's focused on one side of the ball and it kind of ignores the other side, or he's not as involved with the other side. You've got to, in this day and age in the NFL, you've got to have your hand in every aspect of the football team. You can't just say, excuse me, you can't just say, okay, you run the offense and I'll worry about the special teams or the defense or whatever. If you aren't taking full accountability of the entire team, how can you expect your players to take full accountability for what they do? So I totally endorse this approach. Tom Coughlin, it worked for him. It worked for Bill Parcells when he was the head coach. This is the way to go.
Yeah, you don't want to coach to micromanage. I played for a coach who did that, and I'm gonna say his name is Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer, great coach, but he never could get over that hump because when it came crunch time in the playoffs and go to Super Bowls, he started micromanaging. He had his hands in everything. He started overcoaching his coaches, and players see that. I've never seen Parcells do that. I know Tom Coughlin didn't do that. Coaches who won championships, they don't do that. They trust their position coaches, and they trust their players to do the work. John doing the same thing. So like what he said, like what he's doing, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do the same thing he did in Baltimore.
Patricia, quote, "It's going to be where it starts," close quote. And that obviously is in regards to the run game, something that John Harbaugh holds very near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just on offense, but on defense. That run defense has been a problem for I don't know how many years now. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's talent. Is it scheme? Is it a combination? Is it execution? Probably a combination of all the above. But, John Harbaugh getting back to the basics. Everybody says, oh, it's a passing league, so you're going to pass. That's where it's at. No, I mean, the core pillars of football, you rush the passer, you run the ball, and you stop the run. And from there, everything else falls into place. And the Giants just haven't been able to do that consistently for a number of years now.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sometimes, you want to run the ball effectively. And yes, I would go maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, it became a dominant passing league where we saw a position was basically deleted. That was a fullback spot because it became a passing league. And that fullback was replaced by another tight end. Back in the day, you used to call that guy the H-back or the U-back. So, yeah, you want to run the ball, and I think John wants to do the same. And on both sides of the ball, we'll talk about this more. Stopping the run, you want to do that as well. But the league is now becoming more balanced to a point. You got to run the ball effectively for two things. Number one, you want to advance the ball to try to score it. Secondly, you want to give your defense a rest. You do that by running the ball, let some clock run to give the defense a rest. And if you remember, some years ago, who was the coach down in Philadelphia? Came from Oregon. Oh,
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly. You remember, he was out in Philly, and that high pass offense. And a lot of times you get a lot of 3 and outs, and sometimes you score quickly. Well, your defense is back on the field, and your defense is tired. You got to run the ball effectively to give your defense a rest. So it goes hand in hand. So I know what John's talking about. He wants to run the ball effectively. He wants to give the defense a rest, and there's got to be a balance for both to be successful.
All right, so let's talk about the offense. Obviously, when it's a CEO, you're only as good as the guys you hire. So there's a 3-headed monster on offense. Of course, it begins with Nagy. They hired Callahan. They hired Roman. Everything you could possibly want experience-wise in one unit, the Giants have assembled, Patricia.
Yeah, they definitely have. And these are guys that are proven in their areas of expertise. Now, putting them all together, it's what's that expression? I always botch it up. The sum is greater than the parts. Is that? I think
that's close enough.
Close enough. I always mess that one up. But the point being is instead of having one brain, now you've got 3 brains, and you've got 3 experienced brains that are going to mesh together the talent that they already have, the talent that they're going to add, and they're going to optimize it. I fully believe from what we saw last year, we did not see the very best, the full optimization of what those players could do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Roman and Nagy and Callahan can get out of this group moving forward.
Yeah, and we spoke of that last show. You have 3 guys who've done it before at the highest level, very successful. 2 of the guys were head coaches. Okay, so that goes a long way too, as well as offense coordinators. They have success wherever they've been. Of course, Nagy had it in Kansas City, and you're not going to try to make Jackson into a Mahomes or anybody like that. But you have 3 guys who did it on the highest level and had great success. All that knowledge going into Jackson Dart, and as I said before, all Jackson has to do is sit back and let it soak in. And these 3 guys are not going to overstep each other. They're going to come together collectively, put a great game plan, and figure out what works best. What can Jackson Dart do? Physical skills. He does not have a Mahomes arm. We know that. But what can he do well? Let's put together a package that makes him work well for our offense. And the Giants will put players around that offensive skill for Jackson to be successful. I think it's fantastic. And this is something we've been talking about for the last few weeks. This is a beautiful situation for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, we've been talking about it since they hired Harbaugh, Patricia, in that Callahan, Nagy, Roman, to be specific, you know they want gigantic jobs, be it OC jobs, be it head coaching jobs. And the fact that we have hungry players and hungry coaches, terrific combination, Patricia.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm expecting big things. If this offense stays healthy, if these key players stay healthy, if they bring in a few more playmakers and they reinforce the offensive line, the sky could be the limit. There could be absolutely no reason why this Giants offense can't be a top 15, top 10 unit if everything falls into place.
And I believe it will. I mean, the blueprint is there. I mean, the coaching staff is there. You got pieces in place. Add a few more pieces, sky's the limit. That's my mindset. That's what I see. And I think we all agree on that. You know, like I said before, Jackson Dart, all he has to do is listen and let it soak in. Sky's the limit. Go do what you got to do. The Giants, and we know this, they're going to bring some parts in to make it work. You don't put a staff like this together on the offensive side and just go, okay, we got enough to get it done. No, they got a plan in place, and they're still working on it. And it's going to come from the draft and come from free agency. They're going to put the people around Jackson Dart, well, the offensive line and skill positions as well, to make it go, to make it work. And hopefully, if these coaches stay, they probably want to be maybe one and done or two and done and gone, but it's got to be sustainable for the duration, 4, 5, 6 years and onward to make it work.
Callahan, Nagy, and Roman, if we accept the fact that they are hungry, it also tells you exactly what they thought of the guys on offense for the Giants. They're not going to a dead-end spot. They're going, we have Jackson Dart, and assuming we get Cam and Neighbors back healthy, it tells you all you need to know about why those guys specifically chose the Giants, Patricia.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff to work with there. I mean, if you're a coach, how exciting is it for you to come to a team and you've got all that young talent, all that promising talent, and they're still, early in their career. So now you can come in and say, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the lump of clay and I'm going to mold it even further and develop it even further. And it's just exciting. And I got to think from a coaching perspective, like you said before, these are hungry coaches that ultimately want to be coordinators or head coaches one day. And this is a golden opportunity for them to really knock it out of the park.
Yeah, this goes to show that we talked about it before. That Giant roster is not as decimated as everybody thinks it was. They had a lot of young talent there, a lot of great parts that some were hurt, but overall, the roster is good. So why wouldn't a coach of their caliber wants to come over and coach with the Giants? I mean, it just makes sense. But plus, it's not a rebuild. It's not a total rebuild. A few missing pieces, this team could go pretty damn far this football season.
All right, before we take our first break, and Patricia mentioned it earlier, and it's worthy of repeating, that the Giants need to build a Giants identity. Obviously, we're going to take stuff from Kansas City and Tennessee and Baltimore. That's where these guys came from. But again, Patricia, worthy of mentioning again the fact that we need a Giants situation here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know the league is a copycat league, but I don't know that you see it, any team, copy step by step, piece by piece from another team, because you can't. Every player, despite what coaches will have you want you to believe, every player is different. There's no such thing as, next man up. Yeah, next man up on the depth chart, but that doesn't mean that the guy replacing the guy that just went out has the same skill set or the strengths and whatnot. So it's important to tie into that, identify what those strengths are early and build on that. And if it means, taking a concept or two from Chicago or from Kansas City or from wherever, from the Los Angeles Chargers, you might see that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be unique to the Giants because, you'll see the Giants do things that maybe Kansas City doesn't do because they don't have the personnel or maybe it doesn't fit, the criteria or whatever the case may be. So it's an important step and one I can't wait to see. I mean, they get started in April. I think they're going to have an extra mini camp in April. I can't wait to see what they start putting together.
Yeah. You're going to see real quick what they're going to do. As far as identity, Every team has an identity. You go back 2 or 3 years ago, just go back last year. Look at Seattle's team. Seattle's team wasn't known for their offense. Though they were good, it was that defense. Every team has to have an identity. And I tend to think Harbaugh is going to be leaning more towards the defense because that's where I think his expertise is. I'm not saying he's going to just disrespect the offense, but it's going to be defense. That's where I think they're going to be the Giants will be known for their defense, and the offense is going to be good. Don't get me wrong; it'll be 45, 55, whatever. But your defense got to travel well. And in the NFL, if your defense can't travel, you're not winning. You're not.
All right, our first break is upon us. When we return, specific positions making comebacks. We'll explain exactly what we mean, and of course, a trade possibility, someone that you've heard of before. We'll do all that coming up next. All right, let's tell you about FanDuel. All right, ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, folks. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals, which, by the way, right around the corner. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we are back on the New York Giants Squad Show alongside Patricia and Mark. My name is Jay. Positional value, very important, Patricia. The best player at the best position. Things are different now. Obviously, there are needs for every team, but we talk about best player available a lot. So tell us a little more.
Yeah, I mean, coaches and GMs, they'll tell you best player available. And all right, if you have your quarterback set and the best player available at the time of your pick happens to be a quarterback, are you going to take another quarterback? I don't think so. So, coaches and GMs, they try and marry a best player available with need. And that's the way you have to do it. Now, it boils down to what is your offense going to be about? What is your defense going to be about? So we could sit here and say, for example, oh, the Giants should go and grab one of the edge rushers. There's like 3 edge rushers in this class, Bain, and I forget who the other 2 are, but there's 3 of them that are really, really good, worthy of being a top 10 picks, right? But if the Giants have 3 pass rushers on their roster, you really need to go and get another one. I know, Ernie Accorsi, who I always admired, he always used to say there's no such thing as having too many pass rushers, but do you want to spend on another pass rusher at the expense of not filling a need elsewhere that you desperately need to do?
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, best player at the position. You're right. They're not going to take another quarterback if it's available. They wouldn't do it anyways. That'd be stupid. But, you take what you need. And if the player that you need is there later, you can trade out of it, you do it. But most of it's a crapshoot anyway, best pick at the position available. You take what you need. The Giants are lucky because their needs are not really catastrophic. They had a quarterback. I tend to think they may need a receiver if what's name is not back yet. Neighbors isn't back.
Yeah.
If Neighbors isn't back. So, that may be a need. But as I see it, they're in a good position, and they could really trade out of that spot if they really wanted to. There's not a catastrophic need that they need to replace right now.
It's funny because we had all planned for weeks and weeks and weeks, or at least wanted the Giants to have the top pick so they could trade out of there and get all these picks back. Very different 4 spots down. They're now picking 5th, and anything could happen. So it's amazing how a 1 or 2 wins at the end of the season, Patricia, change everything.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are disappointed, but you know what? The more I talk to draft scouts, the more they all say the same, and that is that this is a very weak class overall in terms of true first round graded talent. I have a guy coming on tomorrow on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, Dave Syverson of Our Lads, and I said to him, look, if you're the Giants and you have the opportunity to trade down, would you do it? Is there a player that maybe, a team might want to move up to 5? And he said, other than maybe the 3 edge rushers, probably not. He said, and if the Giants are going to trade, he says, I wouldn't go further than 12 if I'm them. But the place to maybe look for a trade is not in the first round, but in the second round, because there was a stat posted that I think since 2020, there's been 32 trades, I want to say, in the second round by teams that have picked in the first 10 slots of that round. So if the Giants are going to make a trade, that would be where I would look at, because that, the teams have a chance to go home after the first round, think about things, formulate what they want to do. They've seen how the board is starting to fall, and that's where you'll probably see the action.
Yeah, I don't know if the talent in this draft is bad. I guess I think it's pretty good. I mean, there are some great players, especially on the defensive side. But are there any wow players? Probably not wow fantastic. There are no 3 or 4 quarterbacks worth number 1 picks or first overall picks. There are no gigantic receivers that they could warrant that. But if you can stockpile draft capital by getting out of that 5 spot, yeah, you do it, because once again, the need for the Giants at the major position is not really there for them. They don't need it. They got a quarterback. So what to trade out of that from a second round picks, maybe. So it'd be kind of a boring kind of draft if the Giants take the player that they want, receiver or linebacker or corner or safety. Nothing splash worthy of it. Or they could get out of there and get some draft picks and build a roster for the whole rest of the 3 or 4 or 5 years. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting.
All right, we talked about how the NFL now is a passing league. That being said, and we talk about all the time how running backs are a dime a dozen. Perhaps that's changing a little bit, Patricia. Tell us your thoughts on that. Would the running back make a comeback here, if you will?
It could. I mean, let's look at what the Giants have. And, I'm looking long-term here. All right. Tyrone Tracy is not a bad running back, but is he an RB1 moving forward or an RB2? And is he somebody you can build around long-term? I mean, the jury's still out there. Cam Scatterbo was coming back from that injury, and he maybe has the potential to be an RB1, but his play style, he's hard-nosed and he's willing to run through a wall, and is that sustainable? You look at what John Harbaugh has done in the past. And again, we talked about maybe taking bits and pieces of different elements of different teams from where the coaches came from. One of the staples of a John Harbaugh offense was that they ran the ball a lot. They were a power running team. So you ask yourself and you say, okay, do the Giants have enough beef at running back to replicate that if that's what Harbaugh wants? I mean, you figure they're going to have to get a fullback because that's what Baltimore had. You figure they're going to want a big bruising type of back. Now, whether that could be Scatterbo or they need a bigger guy. They're going to probably want to add a blocking tight end to help because, again, Baltimore ran a lot of 12 personnel. So these are things that you have to ask yourself. And this is why you can't rule out the possibility of, there being a pick at that position, at a position that maybe you thought, oh, well, you can get that anywhere.
They're going to run the ball. That's what Harbaugh does. He likes it. They're going to get a pick 4, 5, 6, 7 round, whatever. It's going to be a late pick. They're not going to draft anybody that high in that position at the running back spot or the fullback spot. And that's what I said earlier. The fullback spot is making a comeback, not the running back, not the tailback. The tailback's always been there. that fullback spot, that slash, and not the traditional fullback, the Mike Allstott, which I think Scatterboo is kind of like. It's going to be somebody like like an Allstott Scatterboo, big back that can run the ball from the tailback spot and can block and can catch. That's what's coming back. That's what John Harbaugh likes. That's what he's going to do. How do you get him? Free agency? Maybe, maybe not. Look, evaluate what you have on the roster now. Then you go, okay, what can we get in the draft? 4th round running back, 3rd round, somebody to fit that kind of mold. That's what they're going to do. Because one thing about John Harbaugh, he loves to run the ball. That's what they do. And that's what the Giants are going to do. They're going to run the ball to open up the passing game.
All right. For some reason, we cannot shake the Kayvon Thibodeaux trade rumor. I mean, I don't know how many times we've discussed this. It's been going on for weeks. Patricia, why is this still a thing? And it seems like the longer this goes on, the more a possibility of him being traded is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a thing because he's got a high cap hit, although it's really not that high. It's like the 25th highest edge rusher cap hit for 2026. He's also a guy who, the production hasn't been there for given where he was taken, who's had some injury issues. And, the other challenges, of course, is how do you get all 3 of them on the field, which they haven't been able to do. So my stance on that is, I won't say that it's not possible that they trade him, but I think Denard Wilson, the defensive coordinator, is going to figure out a way to get all 3 of them on the field. If it means moving Abdul Carter all over the formation, he's probably the most position flexible of the 3. As far as Thibodeaux goes, you know what? I could see a scenario where they keep him and they just say, okay, you know what? Go and ball out. We want to win, so why would you want to, take away a piece that potentially can help you win? And you deal with what he's going to need or what he's going to require money-wise after the season is over. Because who knows? Maybe he gets injured again and now his market value drops. If he balls out, hey, that benefits you as well. I think the time to trade Thibodeaux probably would have been last year, because now think about it. If you're the acquiring team, you're getting a 1-year rental. And there's, unless you can guarantee that he's going to sign a multi-year deal as part of the trade, how many teams are really going to want a 1-year rental?
Here's where Donna Ponte makes her money.
Yeah.
There is no way in hell they're going to extend him on take up his 5th-year option on his contract. That tells me right that he's gone. Why would you do that? They'll trade him, get somebody younger, get a couple of draft picks, do it now. You're right, Patricia. Should have did it last year, but the old salary cap guy didn't think about that or whatever. Somehow it didn't work out. The Giants would not exercise his 5th-year option. They're not going to do it. They'd rather cast him off now, get what you can. I don't care if you get a 3rd round for him. Whatever. Get what you can. Because if he goes next year, unless he gets hurt or whatever, you're going to let him walk for nothing. Because you're not going to franchise him like that. He's gone. So you got to do what you got to do. So that's why Jay and Patricia were hearing these rumors a lot, because it's going to happen. And everybody in the league knows it. This is a point where what can you get for him now? So you better get it out there and get what you can now and start over at that position and move on.
Maybe this is the kick in the pants that Tibbs needed. The fact that his name has been swirling around for so long. And as you mentioned, Patricia, essentially the last year of his deal, it's not like he doesn't have plenty to play for, right?
He's got pride to play for, and he's a very proud person. I mean, he talks about wanting to be the best. He talks about wanting to enter that Lawrence Taylor stratosphere, which I still say, that's asking a lot. I mean, God bless anybody who wants to, who aspires for that, but there was only one LT. So maybe that does light a fire under his backside. How many times have we seen it? A player goes into the final year of their contract and they ball out, and then they earn their big pay, and then everything kind of goes back to normal, if you will. So it is absolutely possible that Thibodeaux, if he is kept here, balls out. But the key thing with him, he's got to stay healthy. He's only played, I think, 22 games over the last 2 years. Hasn't come close to the production he had excuse me, in his second year. So it's up to him.
But it's to me, it's not about his playing abilities. It's about on the business side. The Giants, do they want to risk keeping him because they're not going to exercise his fifth year option? If he plays out, they get nothing. So though to some people he has not lived up to his marquee value, whatever, so what? It's about what the Giants will do and what they won't do. And one thing I'm thinking that they won't do is let this guy play on a 1-year deal because they're not going to exercise his fifth year option and let him walk away scot-free. They're going to work on trying to get something for him now while he's upright and healthy and they can get a third foot, whatever, for him. That's what they're going to do. That's what I see they're going to do. And the longer they wait on this to get something done and before the season, when the season starts, it may be too late.
All right, the three of us will return after a short break. When we come back, specific players at the Combine we want to focus in on, specifically the defense. We'll do that next. All right, let's tell you about Indeed. Workplace chaos, well, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. Well, that's when the pressure's on and you need the right hire. This is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. Pay attention. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, we are back. Patricia, Mark, and Jay. It's the New York Giants Squad Show. And again, we are halfway home on this particular show. We'll start now, the second half of the show, discussing Combine player meetings. And as we said, going to break, specifically on the defense. We'll start with linebacker Sonny Styles. Obviously, someone that lots of teams are looking at, Patricia.
Yeah, and the Giants included. And I like that. You know, look, the Giants need a solid playmaker in the middle of the defense. And if you look at John Harbaugh and the teams that he's always had a solid linebacker in the middle. All right, Bart Scott, Ray Lewis, Patrick Queen, CJ Mosley. I mean, the history is there. Now, no disrespect to Bobby Okereke, who has been a good player. But the production, we're at a point now with Bobby Okereke where the production maybe isn't matching the money that's coming or going to be paid to him. Mm-hmm. So I still think he's going to be a cap cut, and they're going to go younger, cheaper at the, get a guy in here on a rookie deal and get a guy who's maybe a little bit more proficient in coverage, a guy with better sideline to sideline range, a guy who's a better tackler. I mean, Bobby had a lot of missed tackles last year, and just, go in a different direction and solidify the middle of that defense, which over the last couple of years has kind of slid down the tubes a little bit.
Sonny Styles, let's back a little bit. This is why I think Thibodeaux would probably be out of there. Sonny Styles fits what Thibodeaux does. First of all, Sonny Styles is too tall to play inside linebacker. Guy's 6'5". He's 6'5", maybe 6'6". Put him on the edge, let him rush. And I agree. You know, John likes a solid inside backer. I don't know any inside backers on the college level who fits the Ray Lewis moniker or whatever, as that stout kind of guy. But Sonny Styles ain't it. He's a big dude. You're not playing 6'5", 6'6" at middle linebacker. It ain't happening. So that's what I'm saying. The Thibodeaux talk, that's what I'm thinking that is coming from, the rumors. If you want to go that route with Sonny Styles, makes sense to me. Young guy, comes in, rookie, probably will play immediately. He's a good player, very good player. That just makes sense. As far as anybody else, I mean, you know, at that inside spot, what's the kid? There's a kid from Indiana who's a hell of a player. His name skips me right now. But, man, to me, that's the kind of guy that I would see Harbaugh go after.
All right, Patricia, there's another interesting prospect, linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., and it just goes to show where the Giants might be focused on, and that, of course, is the middle of the defense, the linebacking crew. So let's do Anthony Hill Jr. now.
Yeah, I mean, right now at the Combine, you know, the way it's working is you had the linebackers and the defensive linemen. Today they had the defensive backs. So it works in cycles. So that's why we haven't learned about the other positions. But that being said, yeah, there's been, if you notice, there's been a few inside linebackers mentioned for the Giants, and it's a position of need. And quite honestly, you go back to last year when they had to give up the 3rd-round pick to move up to get Jackson Dart. I believe if they had had that 3rd-round pick, they probably would have filled the linebacker spot right then and there. So you can't fill every single opening every year. It just doesn't happen. But now you've got to prioritize where you need help, and they need help in the middle of the defense.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you get a bigger linebacker who you know, can play like in the nickel, you know, be a big nickel package. There are things that, you know, that they have to figure out what they want to do and who fits that. And, you know, Hill's a guy I like for them. Maybe not in the 1st round, maybe like a 2nd round type of prospect.
Yeah.
But, you know, without that 3rd-round pick, I got to be honest with you, to go from 37 to 105, that is a huge gap. I really hope they find a way to close that gap.
Yeah, now Hill fits the inside linebacker position. He's 6'2", 6'3", about a little under 240. And he can play side to side, he can run. He has a mean streak in him as well. He can play. So that makes sense. Now, if he's a 1st-round pick, I don't know. But that makes more sense than anything else that we discussed. He just fits exactly what Harbaugh looks for, and he probably fits what the Giants are looking for overall. Strong guy, play side to side, great size. They would probably want him to bulk up maybe just a little bit more without losing speed. But, yeah, he fits more than Sonny Styles does, just for size alone.
I feel like the Giants have been in search for that linebacker, be it free agency or draft, for so long, Patricia. And it's funny because it's what they're known for, at least over the past several decades. And the Giants just can't find it. Hopefully this is the draft that it gets done, Patricia.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of the last true great inside linebacker the Giants had, Antonio Pierce comes to mind.
Yeah.
Now, they've had guys that have been good for them for like a year or two, but not consistently. You know, Bobby Okereke was really good for them the first year he was here. But the other problem you have, and I think why it's been such a challenge, is when you keep changing the head coach and as a result, the defensive coordinator, how are you supposed to, you know, establish any kind of continuity, especially if you go from a defensive coordinator who goes from one style to another one who goes to a totally different style. And if you're not drafting guys who can adapt to any system, any type of style, you're going to hurt yourself further. And I think the Giants have been guilty of that by saying, okay, you know what? Wink Martindale wants this, this, and this. But, oh, now Wink's not here. So now what do we do with these guys? Because they don't quite fit what we've got now. That's where the Giants got to get a little bit better in terms of the guys they bring in. They can't be specialists in one specific area and just totally not be good at the other.
Yeah, and we're assuming, by speaking linebackers, because we're assuming that the Giants are going to run a 4-3, right? 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. I don't know that, but if they are, then it makes sense to talk about middle linebackers. But if you talk about something else, you know, a 3-4, where you want 4 linebackers. The 2 ends are stand-up guys, linebackers, like we had in New York with Carl Banks and Lawrence Taylor. You want your best athletes on the field, I think, in a 3-4. You got your 3 down linemen, and your other guys are fast linebackers who can run all over the place. I know John Harbaugh didn't do a lot of 3-4 work in Baltimore. He likes the middle linebacker. But the league has changed, and at some point, you want all your best players on the field at the same time. And some of those guys are stand-up guys who are 6'5", 6'6", 245, 250, and can rush from the end standing up instead of in the 3-point stance rushing. So it all depends on what they're going to do. I don't know. So best player available for the position that they're looking for, linebacker or defensive end. We'll wait and see what the draft says.
All right, we'll do one more in regards to combine player meetings, and that's Peter Woods. Here's an interesting one because, and he's a defensive lineman, by the way, for those of you that are not aware. Anyways, he played his ball at Clemson, so he's trained with Dexter Lawrence. Very interesting combination there. That would be interesting, as I said, Patricia.
Yeah, but you know what? The fact that they're talking about a defensive lineman, and I don't know if they, where he would slot in. What about Darius Alexander? Does this mean that maybe they're giving up on him, which, I would find hard to believe after 1 year? Look, they need talent.
Uh-oh. I think we may have lost Patricia. Yeah. All right, well, let's press on. We'll try and get her back. Go ahead, Mark.
The reason they're looking at that position of the defensive line, and he works out with Dexter, is great, fantastic, but they're going to need more linemen to stop the run. That's what they're thinking. So that makes sense to me. Whether they take him, I don't know. First, second, third, why, I don't know. But looking at the D line, that's not a bad spot to look if that's what you need, because you need that to stop the run. Once again, I don't know what they're going to run. What defense is going to run? 4-3, 3-4. I have no idea. But looking at the defensive lineman makes a lot of sense.
All right, the three of us are whole again. So Patricia, take it away with Peter Woods as we continue here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, and I apologize. I think I had a blip in my internet connection here. But yeah, Peter Woods, I often wonder if the Giants are looking to get like a big-bodied 5-tech guy who can slide, outside if it need be. You want to be versatile. And with Peter Woods, the thing that concerns me, and I think is going to be a question he's going to have to answer a lot, is why was there a drop-off in his performance from 2024 to 2025? But I'm not too shocked that the Giants are looking at defensive line help. I think they need it. They're going to lose Raheem Nunez-Roches. I think they've got a couple of other guys, DJ Davidson, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. You've got to build in the trenches. So I'm all for it. But I am kind of curious about what role does Darius Alexander have on this team? Last year's third-round pick. What role does he have moving forward? Again, we don't know what Denard Wilson is planning to do, but kind of, the guys that they're meeting with, and look, at the combine, they meet with just about everybody. I mean, or at least as many players as they're allowed to meet with. So you can't really say, oh, they're definitely going to do this, that, and the other thing. But you can certainly look at the characteristics and the traits and see if there's not a common denominator in the guys that are being linked to them.
Well, they better get some big bodies up there to stop the run. I know that for sure. So he's a big guy. So sign him up. I don't care where you take him. Just get somebody with over 300 pounds that can stop the run.
All right, good stuff. We have one more break to take. When we come back, we've discussed the tough decisions, be it Wan'Dale, be it Flott, be it Bobby O, be it Jermaine Eluemunor. We'll do all of that as we wrap up the Giant Squad show next. All right, let's tell you about Home Chef. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner, that's a big one. Between busy workdays, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's less prep, less mess, and no wasted food. It saves time and money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. All right, for a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first buy. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. All right, we're back. Patricia, Mark, and Jay, final block of the show. And we talked about tough decisions, and we have talked about this for weeks. And obviously, it begins with Bobby O, Patricia.
Yeah, as we were saying earlier, Bobby O is not a horrible player. Was he a fit for what Shane Bowen tried to run? Maybe not. Although he did pick up, before his back injury. That being said, Bobby, and I hate to say this because 30 is not old. I mean, not to everyday folk. But in the NFL, once you cross that bridge, and Bobby's going to be 30 this year, once you cross that bridge, your production better match your contract. And last year, I don't know that we could say that it did. Now, again, the Giants have to decide, okay, is it because the defensive scheme was so bad that, he wasn't, it didn't fit his strength? But it goes back to what I said earlier, and that is you have to be flexible to play just about whatever you're asked. And Bobby, his coverage skills kind of dropped off a little bit. The tackling problem popped up. So given that they can save $9 million on that deal and it's the last year of his contract, I could see them moving on.
I think they're gonna wait until minicamp to see how he looks, how he fits, because it's not like he's a bad player. He's a hell of a player, really. I mean, yeah, I think he played very well. Maybe it was the scheme, maybe a lot of parts, but I would think he's worth waiting on just to see all the OTAs they got coming up, how he fits, how he adapts to the new scheme, what they asking him to do. That's somebody I will wait to see. You know what? This guy can help us, instead of looking at his salary, his money, and going, you know what? Let's get rid of him. That's somebody I will wait, and we can work something out, restructure his deal, maybe a little haircut here or there. I would do that. He's worth it. He's worth that to me, that respect.
All right. How about Jermaine Eluemunor, who's got to get paid? It's interesting because the Giants offensive line has been so bad for so long, and suddenly now we got a good player, and he might be gone, Patricia.
He might be. It depends on what he's looking for. Now, I made this point on, I think it's the mini show that's coming out now, or at 2:00, the Locked On Giants mini show that I do every day. Jermaine Eluemunor, according to SpotTrack, would be due roughly, in terms of his market value, a $1.7 million raise from what he got APY in his first contract. If he agrees to that, then there should be absolutely no reason why you don't bring him back for an extra, for 1.7 APY raise. It would be foolish. That being said, you have the Marcus Bowe factor. The Giants drafted Marcus Bowe to ultimately become a starting offensive lineman, and he was groomed as a tackle. So do you say, okay, you know what? Regardless, we're moving on from Jermaine. We're going to plug in Marcus Bowe and just roll with a younger line? Or do you say, all right, you know what? If Jermaine's willing to take a 1.7 million APY raise, we'll go with him and call it a day.
Yeah, that's a tough, because we want to protect the quarterback, right? We don't have time for Bo to be the number one guy. Jermaine, you know what you got. Do you keep him? I mean, if he takes that raise of 1 point, whatever it was, yeah. Will he? I don't know. So that decisions. And I'm glad I'm not the general manager. So, but it's one of those things, man, because you want to protect your investment. And your investment, the Giants' investment, is a quarterback. You don't want to just put anybody out there, a lineman, Marcus Bowes, who gives you a good player probably. For the long haul, we don't know. Has he played a whole season? No. You don't want to just throw him out there and get your quarterback smacked in the dirt. So it's something that the Giants brass got to really think about. They got to do it pretty damn soon, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's no way all these players are coming back, and there's no way all of them are going to be gone. So you're going to have to pick and choose their spots, Patricia.
Yeah, I think we'll probably start to see some movement once the final salary cap number is announced, and it should be, like, I would think, by next week.
Yeah.
I mean, the franchise tag window is coming to a close. I think next week, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get answers soon enough. And again, the production's got to be there. You've got to be able to justify it. Brian Burns, he's I think the top paid cap hit on the Giants, but his production's there. So nobody's batting an eye and saying, oh, they should cut him or give him a pay cut. If your production isn't there, you're going to have questions are going to surround your status. And, with Bobby and Jermaine, they're two very good players. They will find work elsewhere in this league if they are not Giants. It's just a matter of, where do they fit in? And John Harbaugh, in his presser at the Combine, said that, look, there are guys we'd like back, but the value has to be there. That's the key word, the value. And what is their criteria for the value? Is it production and cost? Is it something else? Is it how they're going to fit into the scheme? Is it a combination of things? That's what we still don't know.
It can also be age. So that,
age, yeah.
Once you get over, I would say in this league now, maybe 29, they start looking at you a little funny. The Giants have, I think, 22 or 23 guys who are 27 and over. So there's that little ceiling that they people look at, especially when you get 29, 30, they think you're over the hill. So if your salary, your production matches your age, all that stuff comes into play. Most people are gone by then.
All right, two more players specifically that we need to get to, and we've talked about it at length. We'll start with Mr. Cor'Dale Flott. Patricia, take it away.
Cor'Dale Flott's an interesting guy. He was the one cornerback I felt that, besides Paulson Adebo, excuse me, who could play man and zone coverage at a decent enough level. That being said, you look at Paulson Adebo and you say to yourself, okay, was he truly a shutdown, lockdown cornerback last year? I don't think he showed that. Cor'Dale Flott is not, in my opinion, at any rate, a shutdown, lockdown cornerback. All right, he's a CB2. So you ask yourself, okay, do you want to have two CB2s out there and have to pay, big bucks to a guy who basically has one full year of starting experience? Or do you say, all right, you know what? This is a pretty deep cornerback class this year. You can find talent on as late as early day 3. Do you go that route? And I think the Giants will probably go that route. They met with a few cornerbacks at the Combine today. I'm trying to think. They met with Mansour Delane of LSU. They met with McCoy of Tennessee. Igbenusum is another guy they met with, and Will Lee. So they made the rounds with the cornerbacks at the Combine, taking advantage of that opportunity. But it is a deep class, and I think maybe the plan is, okay, Flott, great knowing you, God bless, go out and get paid, but it's not going to be from us.
I would keep him for the simple reason because his flexibility. He could play outside or the inside. When he first got to the Giants, he was garbage to me. But that dude, he worked. He plays well. He plays good enough on the inside, and he can hold up on the outside. I'm not saying it's CB1, no, but he can hold up if injuries happen. And that's what you want. You want somebody who can play inside and outside. A lot of corners can't do that. Deion Sanders couldn't play slot. Deion couldn't play corner. Darrell Green couldn't play slot. These guys are just left corners. If you got a corner who can play inside and outside, left and right, and play safety, I did that, all of it. That's what you want. You want that flexibility. I would keep them because good cornerbacks like that, even though they're solid CB2s, some elevate to CB1s, some do. You keep it because cornerbacks are hard to find. Guys who can cover are really hard to find.
Yeah, our last one that we want to focus in on, obviously, is Wan'Dale. We've discussed this at length as well. He's going to get paid, and we all love Wan'Dale. We'd love to have him back, but again, he needs to cash in. No begrudging there whatsoever, Patricia.
Right. I mean, look, I hope he gets a nice payday. I don't think it's going to be with the Giants. You know, I've made this point before. He had, I think, one more catch or one less catch than he did in 2024. But yet he had double the yardage or more than double the yardage that he had. All right. I don't think that's sustainable. And also, is that a byproduct of the fact that they went with that short, quick passing game that allowed them to pick up yards after the catch? Something just, you know, good for Wan'Dale for getting to 1,000 yards, but something's just not adding up there to that. To me, screams he should get big time money, like a wide receiver one. I do not think he's a wide receiver one. All right. He's a good receiver. Primarily for the Giants, he was a slot receiver. Slot receivers you can find. You can easily replace them. So I don't think the Giants are going to, you know, spend a whole lot to keep him. I think he's going to move on. I hate to see him go because I happen to like the young man and I admire him for how he fought his way back from the ACL. But you just can't plunk down a bunch of money on a position where you can easily replace him.
I'm looking into the future. I see Wan'Dale in Tennessee.
Yeah.
3-year contract. Oh, gosh. How much money? Oh, slot receiver. He's going to make about $10-12 million a year in Tennessee with Brian Dable. That's what I see. No, you don't bring him back. You don't bring him back. He's gone.
All right. Well, as we said, we've discussed Tibbs. We've discussed Bobby O. We've discussed Jermaine Eluemunor, Flott, Robinson, all of these guys. As we said, they're not all going to be gone. They're not all coming back. So lots of work for John and Joe and Dawn, Patricia.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, this is a critical offseason. Harbaugh wants to hit the ground running. So they cannot afford to make mistakes. They cannot afford to sit there and say, well, should we do this or should we do that? They got to know what they want, and they got to know how to get there. That's going to be the difference between whether they're successful or they're not successful. And the teams that we have seen, coaches that haven't been successful, it's like they know what they want to do. They want to win. Everybody wants to win. But if you don't know how to win or how to put a plan in place to ensure that you win, then you can hope for whatever you want. It ain't happening.
With all the expectations that the Giants have on them now by hiring John Harbaugh and this staff, coaching staff he put together, and some people in the front office, there is no excuse. This is way different than it was when they brought in Dable and Judge, all these guys. Way different. The expectations now are on high. He cannot fail. He can't come out to a slow start. There are no excuses. This staff that he put together, this is it. Now it's up to him and them to put together a team to make this thing work. Because gone are the days are the 5-year plan, a 4-year plan. You got to win now. You got 2 years to get this thing going. You got 2 years. If it ain't happening in year 3, they're going to talk about firing him. You watch.
Oh, God. The squad show that day is going to be an all-timer. Anyways, we're done for the day. I will say this. We knocked out the combine. We still got the draft, free agency, then the draft. Lots to do over the next couple of weeks. We're sort of past the dog days now. We're in it, and it's been fun. For Patricia and Mark, my name is Jay. God bless. We'll see you next week.